Hey everybody, John V here from PhoneArena. You're watching our video review of the BlackBerry Torch 9810, the successor to last year's model, the 9800. It's going to be available starting August 21st for a tier contract price of $50. One notable thing about it, it's the very first BlackBerry device to support HSPA Plus with AT&T. Design-wise, the Torch 9810 recycles its predecessor's design in every way except for the new color paint job, which is a black and silver trim. It still doesn't quite embody a premium handset, and it's rather bulky and also heavy at the same time. It features that bold keyboard, same thing as last year. It's kind of cramped with its spacing, and on top of that, buttons have a stiff feel, so it does kind of limit our speed typing. Overall, nothing really stands out with the design of the handset. Turning it on, we agree with the very first improvement, which is its high resolution VGA display, so that's 480 by 640 pixels. It still sizes up at the same 3.2 inches as its predecessor, but with the high resolution, it provides sharper looking details, of course. Colors on the natural side, it doesn't seem overly saturated. We definitely like the viewing angles, but we would like to see at least WVGA resolution on this display, but nevertheless, we're pretty content with it. Naturally, all of the handset's improvements are found under the hood, as the Torch 9810 features a significantly faster 1.2 GHz processor with 768 MB of RAM. As you can tell here, as I'm navigating across the app panel, very fluid and responsive to the touch, and we're happy to see that it's pretty instantaneous in opening up applications, and we're just really amazed by the overall increased speed that we see on the handset. And honestly, this is what we would like to see at the original model, but nevertheless, it's nice to see it available now. Unfortunately, RIM didn't do much to change the platform experience on the Torch 9810 because OS 7 honestly looks and feels just like OS 6. We don't see anything different about it. You still have the home screen here with the app panel. You can move up, resize it. You have a universal search option right in the top there. You tap the top, gives you access to some connectivity options. The app panel is laid out in a traditional grid-like format and still kind of limited in terms of personalization, just because I don't think you could change the background wallpaper. As we mentioned already, the physical keyboard can be a little bit of a challenge to type something, but we could say the same thing about the on-screen portrait one, just because the buttons are kind of tiny, but we do like the fact that it's fairly responsive to the touch. Out of all of them, we'd probably prefer using the landscape option, just because it's by far the most spacious out of the three. Being BlackBerry and all, you know that the Torch 9810 is going to offer a decent experience with its push support. Setup is a breeze too, just because 9 out of 10 times it only requires a username password for automatic setup. Unfortunately though, nothing has changed with the experience. It's the same as previous BlackBerry handsets, still missing out on features like threaded conversations. Even though it's deemed as the very first HSPA Plus enabled BlackBerry for AT&T, we don't notice the improvement in speeds. It's kind of the same as any other 3G enabled device, but we definitely love the web browsing experience. It's very fluid and responsive, much better than previous handsets, and overall, it's more than usable even though it doesn't offer flash support. With its music player, nothing has changed. It's the same exact one that we found on the Torch 9800. We do like its CoverFlow-like presentation. It's still missing out also on a mini player, which would be very useful. As far as the audio quality, it produces some neutral sounding tones and doesn't sound too irritating at all. Thanks partly to its faster processor, the Torch 9810 has no trouble playing high-definition videos this time around. We're able to load up movie trailers that are encoded in MPEG-4, DivX, and XVID at 1280 by 720 resolution, and it's able to play flawlessly. No issues whatsoever, and we definitely like the smooth playback. Sizing up with a much higher 5-megapixel autofocus camera this time around, we're not that convinced with its picture quality just because in outdoor conditions, details are kind of soft and has a tendency to look a little bit on the overexposed side. Indoors in low lighting, it gets a little bit worse just because it's filled with graininess and also a lot of noise. The LED flash does a good job illuminating, but it tends to leave the images looking overexposed. We're glad to finally see 720p video recording on board with the Torch 9810. It shoots at a consistent rate of 30 frames per second, it offers continuous autofocus, and audio recording is crystal clear. Sadly though, it does suffer from the same issues plaguing still image capture, which include things like soft looking details and an overexposed look every now and then. Indoors in low lighting, it gets worse just because it's filled with graininess and a lot of digital noise. With the earpiece, voices have a neutral tone to them with phone calls. On the other end of the line, a caller said our voice sounds a little bit on the robotic side, and when we switch to using the speakerphone, it tends to sound a little bit muffled. With signal strength, it's pretty good on the Torch 9810 just because in high coverage areas it puts up a good amount of bars, and in our experience we didn't see it fluctuating that much. In our testing, the battery life on the Torch 9810 seems pretty good just because on a single charge we managed to place a continuous phone call for 8.3 hours, which is better than the 5.9 hours rated by the manufacturer. As far as everyday normal operation using the handset lightly, we managed to get a solid day's worth of usage, but for heavy users you might want to think about charging it nightly. So here's the thing about the Torch 9810, it just simply lacks that wow factor to reel in customers, mainly because it recycles the design of its predecessor, and in terms of specs, even though it is upgraded from its predecessor, it doesn't quite come off as being as high-end as we'd like it to be, and all honesty, this is what RIM should have produced right from the beginning with the original model. So if you'd like to learn more about the BlackBerry Torch 9810, you can check out our website, PhoneArena.com, and as usual guys, thanks for watching.